All right, let's talk about a story that's all about three chords, a ton of energy, and just a whole lot of noise. This is the story of punk rock.
You know that feeling when you're listening to music and everything just sounds a little too perfect? Kind of glossy, super polished, maybe a little too auto-tuned? Almost like it was made by a computer instead of, an actual person. Well, believe it or not, back in the mid-1970s, a whole bunch of young people felt that exact same way. And their answer to all that perfect, polished music, it wasn't quiet. Oh no, it was a loud, raw, and super energetic explosion that was about to change everything. Okay, so section 1, a loud reaction. Let's dig into what exactly this new sound was pushing back against. So, picture this. At the time, mainstream rock was all about these super long, complicated guitar solos and massive, expensive stadium shows. For a lot of teenagers, it felt like the rock stars were basically on another planet. The music just didn't connect with their actual everyday lives. And that's exactly where punk rock crashes onto the scene. It was the total opposite. I mean, the whole point was that it was raw, it was simple, and it was just packed with energy. And here's the most important part. You didn't need years of music lessons to do it. All you needed was an idea and something you wanted to shout about. Next up, section 2, the birth of punk. So this idea, it didn't just appear in one spot. It kind of exploded in two big cities at pretty much the same time, but each one had its own unique vibe.
So you really had this tale of two cities. On one side of the ocean, you've got New York City. The vibe there was more artistic, a little bit bored, you know? You had bands like the Ramones with their super fast, back-to-basic sound. Their look was pretty simple. Leather jackets, torn jeans. Then you jump over to London, and the whole energy is different. It's way more angry, way more political, fueled by frustration with the economy. Bands like the Sex Pistols and the Clash were screaming about it, and their look was way more in your face. Think safety pins and bright, spiked hair. So same raw energy, but totally different reasons.
All right, section 3, the punk rock code. Because see, it was about way more than just the music and the clothes. Punk had its own set of rules, its own code for living. And the absolute core of that code was one simple idea. Do it yourself. DIY. And let me tell you, this was a game changer. It basically meant you didn't have to wait around for some big company to give you permission. Nope, you could just go ahead and create your art, record your own songs, book your own gigs. You could build your own scene from the ground up. And this DIY spirit, it was absolutely everywhere. Take magazines, for example. You couldn't just pick up a big magazine and read about your favorite local punk band. So what did fans do? They made their own. They'd type up articles, slap in some photos, and then run to a copy machine to make these awesome homemade magazines called fanzines. They'd sell them at shows for next to nothing. I mean, they were literally creating their own media. The music itself was the ultimate example of DIY. The recipe was so simple. Step 1, learn 3 chords on a guitar. Yep, just 3. Step 2, play them really, really fast. And step 3, shout about whatever's on your mind. Seriously, that's it. That was the magic formula. And of course, the fashion followed the exact same rules. This wasn't about buying expensive clothes from a store. No way. It was all about taking what you had, a leather jacket, a plain t-shirt, and making it yours, ripping it up, sticking studs and safety pins on it, maybe writing on it with a marker. The whole look was designed to be rebellious, to show you belong to this subculture. And the best part? It was cheap. Anyone could have the punk look. Okay, moving on to section 4, punk goes global. Because an idea this powerful, it was never going to stay in just 2 cities. It was bound to spread. So just when everyone thought music couldn't possibly get any faster or more aggressive than punk rock, well, they were wrong. A whole new wave of bands came along and just floored the accelerator. And this new sound was called hardcore punk. It really took off in the early 80s in American cities like DC and LA. The songs got even shorter, the guitars got even louder, and the dancing in the crowd got way more physical. They started calling it moshing. It was like taking the raw energy of punk and boiling it down to its most intense, pure form.
Now, something that is absolutely crucial to remember is that this was not just a boys' club. From the very, very beginning, women were a huge part of punk. They were fronting bands, playing guitar, playing drums, and they were using that stage to totally shatter old ideas about what women could or should do.
And that powerful female presence just kept building. By the 1990s, it exploded into a movement called Riot Girl. This was this incredible mix of punk rock music and feminism. Bands in the Riot Grrrl scene wrote songs, made zines, and built communities all focused on empowering young women and giving them a voice to fight for their rights. And it turns out that the core message of punk, be yourself, speak your mind, do it yourself, that message is totally universal. The sounds started spreading all over the globe. Pretty soon you had kids in Japan, Germany, Brazil, all over picking up guitars and creating their own unique punk scenes that spoke to their own local cultures and problems. So, our final section, punk's lasting echo. You might be wondering, what happened to all this loud, angry music? Did it just fizzle out? Absolutely not. Its echo is still bouncing around today. You can really see how it evolved over time. It starts with that raw explosion back in the 70s. Then it gets faster with hardcore in the 80s. By the 1990s, you have pop-punk bands like Green Day taking that energy and making it a huge hit on the radio. And today? Well, today, punk is thriving online, with new bands finding their audience all over the world. And its influence on other music is just massive. You can literally hear the DNA of punk in so many different genres. I'm talking about the attitude you hear in alternative rock, the raw sound of grunge, the whole idea behind indie music. Even some styles of hip-hop and heavy metal took cues from that original punk rock explosion. But, its legacy goes way beyond just music. That whole DIY spirit changed so much. The classic cut-and-paste look of those old punk scenes, it totally influenced graphic design. The raw, honest vibe, it inspired filmmakers. But maybe the biggest thing is that punk proved you could be an independent artist on your own terms. It basically created the blueprint for every YouTuber, TikToker, or SoundCloud artist today. And that really brings us back to the core idea. See, punk was never really about a specific haircut or a certain type of guitar sound. It was about looking at the world around you, having something to say about it, and not being afraid to shout it. So that leaves just one last question for you. If a punk band started up in your town right now, what do you think they'd be singing about?